There is a plant with red stems crawling through the cracks in your driveway right now. It contains more omega-3 fatty acids than salmon, not per pound, per leaf. It has been feeding humans for 4,000 years, survived the fall of the Roman Empire, was independently cultivated by two civilizations separated by an ocean who had never made contact with each other. In 2022, scientists at Yale discovered it does something no other plant on Earth can do, something they called a biological impossibility. The herbicide industry spends billions of dollars every year making sure you never learn its name. You have probably been spraying it. Here is how the suppression works. The global herbicide market reached $40 billion in 2024. Bayer, Syngenta, and Corteva sell products specifically formulated to kill this plant in lawns, gardens, and agricultural fields. Homeowners associations prohibit it. Agricultural extension offices publish eradication guides. The entire infrastructure of modern horticulture treats it like an invasive enemy. Not because it damages ecosystems, because it cannot be controlled. You cannot patent this plant. You cannot genetically modify its seed coat to create a sterile variety that farmers must repurchase. You cannot create a hybrid version that requires buying new seed every season. It has been reproducing freely for 4,000 years, and it will keep reproducing regardless of what anyone does. Every omega-3 supplement on the market is a controlled product. Fish oil at $20 a bottle, flaxseed oil that goes rancid, farmed salmon requiring massive controlled infrastructure. This plant produces more omega-3 per acre than any cultivated crop. It asks for nothing but sunlight. It grows in every climate zone where humans live. The supplement companies cannot monetize that, so they taught you to spray it. The plant is porcelain, Portulaca oleracea. And the story of what was done to it is the clearest documented example of the suppression of self-sufficient food knowledge that exists. In 1050 BC, someone in northern Greece stored porcelain seeds in a clay vessel. When archaeologists opened it 3,000 years later, they found thousands of tiny black seeds, the same plant growing between the stones outside. By the 4th century BC, Theophrastus was writing cultivation instructions telling farmers to sow it in April alongside their essential crops. This was not a weed, this was food. The Roman Empire cultivated porcelain across 3 continents. In 1288, a scholar compiled a list of everything Milan consumed annually. Porcelain was on that list, not as a curiosity, but as a staple food. When European settlers documented porcelain in Massachusetts in 1672, archaeologists later discovered it had already been there for 2,500 years. Native Americans were cultivating it alongside sunflowers, squash, and chenopodons in the Eastern agricultural complex, independently without any contact with the Mediterranean civilizations doing the same thing. Two populations separated by an ocean both independently decided this plant was essential. They knew something we were trained to forget. In 1960, physiologist Ansel Keys launched the 7 Countries Study. He tracked 12,763 men across 7 countries for 50 years to understand why some populations had almost no heart disease. The farmers of Crete consumed some of the highest fat diets ever measured, more than 35% of calories from fat. Every nutritional theory of the time predicted they should be dying from heart attacks. Instead, they had the lowest cardiovascular mortality rate Keys had ever recorded, lower than Japan, lower than Finland, lower than anywhere. For 20 years, scientists credited olive oil. Then in the 1980s, researchers went back to the frozen blood samples and looked for omega-3 fatty acids. The Cretans had 3 times the omega-3 levels of the Dutch, but they were not eating 3 times more fish. They were eating porcelain every single day, in salads and stews sautéed with olive oil. They fed it to their chickens and goats. The animals ate porcelain, the people ate the animals. The entire island's food system ran on a plant that grew wild in every field. Dr. Artemis Simopoulos analyzed porcelain in 1992, and the numbers seemed impossible. 300 to 400 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid per 100 grams of fresh leaves, 5 to 7 times more than spinach, 15 times more than iceberg lettuce, the richest vegetable source of omega-3 fatty acids ever measured. Then it got stranger. Land plants do not make EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid. That's the marine omega-3 you get from fish and algae, not from something growing in your garden. Porcelain makes EPA. When Simopoulos published this finding, other scientists questioned whether the samples had been contaminated. They had not. Porcelain also contains 7 times more vitamin E than spinach, 6 times more beta-carotene than carrots, and concentrations of melatonin, glutathione, potassium, magnesium, and calcium that make it one of the most nutrient-dense plants ever analyzed. The Lion Diet Heart Study tested whether the Cretan diet could save lives. 605 patients recovering from heart attacks. Half received the standard low-fat cardiac diet. Half received a Mediterranean diet rich in porcelain, walnuts, and omega-3 fatty acids. After 5 years, the porcelain group had 70% fewer deaths. Not 70% fewer heart attacks, 70% fewer deaths from all causes. The study was stopped early because keeping the control group on the standard cardiac diet had become ethically unjustifiable.
In 2022, Dr. Erica Edwards and her team at Yale published findings in Science Advances that rewrote what biologists believed was possible in photosynthesis. They had been studying porcelain because it was doing something that should have been impossible, thriving in extreme drought while growing faster than almost any other plant simultaneously. Here's the biology. Most plants use C3 photosynthesis, works with plenty of water. Corn and sugarcane use C4 photosynthesis, handles high temperatures but still needs water. Desert cacti use CAM photosynthesis, open pores at night to collect CO2, seal them during the day to prevent water loss. AM plants survive drought but grow very slowly. Scientists knew porcelain could do both C4 and AM. They assumed it used each system in a different part of the leaf. When the Yale team mapped gene expression across porcelain cells, they discovered something nobody had ever seen. Both systems operating in the same cells at the same time. C4 activity during the day for rapid growth, AM activity at night for drought survival. The products of the AM reactions feeding directly into the C4 pathway. The same enzymes recruited for different jobs at different times in the same cellular space. Edwards described it as a very rare combination of traits that created a kind of superplant. No other species on Earth does this. It is like discovering a car engine that runs on gasoline and electricity simultaneously in the same combustion chamber, not by switching between them, both systems running in parallel in the same physical space. This is what scientists are spending billions of dollars trying to engineer into drought-resistant crops. It already exists in your driveway.
When climate models project where food crops will fail first, they point to semi-arid zones, places where rainfall is already marginal and getting worse. These are precisely the conditions where porcelain thrives. Corn and wheat require 20 to 30 inches of annual rainfall. Porcelain completes its full life cycle on 6 inches. Soybeans shut down photosynthesis above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Porcelain accelerates. Porcelain produces 200,000 seeds per plant. Each seed remains viable in soil for up to 40 years. Every stem fragment that touches the ground roots into a new plant. One university study on soil solarization, covering soil with plastic to superheat it, concluded that if porcelain guys from solarization, everything that could possibly go right had to have gone right. The agricultural industry is spending billions of dollars engineering drought-resistant GMO crops to solve the exact food security crisis that porcelain solves naturally right now for free. The solution is not being developed in a Monsanto laboratory. It is growing between your patio stones. Half the world never forgot this. India still eats it. They call it kulfa. Greece calls it glistrita. Mexico calls it verdolagas, sautéed with garlic and chile. China has cultivated it continuously for thousands of years. Turkey, Iran, the Middle East, all of them include it in salads and meze spreads every summer. Half the world never stopped eating it. The other half was taught to poison it. Here is exactly how to identify porcelain. Thick red or reddish-green stems that grow flat along the ground. Smooth, succulent, paddle-shaped leaves, fleshy, not papery. When you break a stem, it is juicy inside, almost translucent. Tiny yellow flowers tucked between the leaves. The whole plant grows low, spreading outward rather than upward. The rule for foraging: smooth red stems, succulent paddle leaves, juicy when broken. If it matches all three, it is porcelain. One important confirmation: do not confuse porcelain with spurge, which grows in a similar pattern but has milky white sap when the stem is broken. Porcelain sap is clear and watery. Always confirm identification before eating any foraged plant. Harvest young, tender growth, the first 6 weeks when leaves are small and mild. The flavor is lemony, slightly salty, with a satisfying crunch that works in raw salads. Sautéed with olive oil and garlic, it tastes similar to spinach but with more substance. Add it to smoothies raw to preserve the B12 content and fat-soluble vitamins. Pickle it with vinegar and salt for winter storage. Dry it in a dehydrator at low temperature for long-term preservation. The dried leaves hold their nutritional profile remarkably well. Save seeds from any plants you find. One plant produces hundreds of thousands of seeds. Let a few plants complete their full life cycle and collect the tiny black seeds in late summer. You will have enough to plant a productive garden or share with everyone you know.
For the farmers and homesteaders paying close attention, the income model here is real and underdeveloped. Porcelain sells for $4 to $12 per pound at specialty farmers markets and farm-to-table restaurant accounts where chefs already know what it is worth. In markets where it is known, Greek, Turkish, Mexican, Indian neighborhoods, and their associated restaurants, it commands consistent demand from buyers who cannot find reliable domestic supply because most American growers are spraying it rather than harvesting it. The commercial cultivation economics are extraordinary. Zero input cost if you allow it to grow naturally. Minimal labor to harvest. 2 to 3 pound yield per square foot of established ground. No irrigation required in any climate where it grows wild. No seeds to purchase after initial establishment. For the specialty farm operation building multiple income streams, porcelain fills the exact niche that requires the least investment per dollar of revenue generated. It is not the centerpiece of a farm business. It is the crop that fills gaps, utilizes edges, and converts weed management labor into harvest and sale labor. The complete model, buyer identification, restaurant outreach, market positioning, and scaling alongside other specialty crops is in the Millionaire Farmer Guide. The herbicide industry does not want you to know that the richest source of omega-3 fatty acids is growing in your driveway for free. The pharmaceutical industry does not want you to know that the supplement selling for $20 a bottle is trying to replicate what porcelain does at zero cost. The agricultural industry does not want you to know that the drought-resistant superplant scientists are trying to engineer at enormous expense already exists and has existed for 4,000 years in every climate zone where humans live. Every person who learns to recognize porcelain is one more person who understands that the most nutritious plants on Earth are often the ones we have been most deliberately taught to destroy. The knowledge was never lost, it was suppressed, and it is growing through your driveway right now, waiting for you to stop poisoning it. Drop a comment. Did you know porcelain was edible before this video? Have you been spraying it? Share this with someone who gardens. One share could save them years of poisoning their own food supply. Subscribe, because what comes next is more of what they buried. Now you